Good Thursday evening, high school sports fans. Joe Gilloway with Lingelstown Gazette Sports live from the Orchard Street studio for episode number 6 of our new podcast, Gazette Sports Chat, where we'll get to know participants from various realms of the high school sports world, the student athletes who play the games, the coaches who coach them, and others who contribute in different ways to the entire experience. I'll introduce tonight's guest in just a moment as soon as we're done thanking those responsible for bringing you tonight's show. Our Lingelstown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors, and they are Rickabaz Electric, Payer Apparel, Ted's Bar and Grill, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, Tonino's Pizza, Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate, Team PA AAU Basketball, Sam Hartley Decking, American Legion Post 272, Hoffman Ford, The Tire Mart, Modern Imprint, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Underdog Sports Bar and Grill. Thanks to those great local businesses for their continued support of Lingelstown Gazette Sports and our area's student athletes. We are also looking for new sponsors for the upcoming 24-25 school year coverage. And we could also use a few more team members, student interns, adults like myself who are just into high school sports and want to help cover them. It's a lot of fun. I mean, we do it for fun. And if you're looking for something to do and you want to hang out in the sideline of football games and stuff like that, and if that's for you, let us know and we'll get you on board. This coming Tuesday on episode 7 of Gazette Sports Chat, we're going to have the Susquehanna Township guys. We'll have head coach Joe Heeden, head football coach Joe Heeden, and 2 of his players, Lex Cyrus, heading off to South Carolina after his senior season. And he's also a world-class sprinter, at least a Pennsylvania State class sprinter. I know that. And Mason Lubold, the center for that team. And then we also have Jimmy Jones coming up. John Harris and USC legend Jimmy Jones. We're going to call this our Legends series, where we're going to bring in some guys and gals that made a huge impact in the high school sports scene, sports world, and maybe have been out for 5 years, maybe have been out for 50 or 60 years. And Jimmy Jones is one of those guys that we're going to bring in. We're going to let him kick things off. So anyway, my guest tonight is somebody who we collaborate sometimes. Sometimes I'm a guest on his shows. And then tonight, I think it'll be the first time that you've been really a guest on one of my shows, Billy. Anyway, we got Billy Splain of PA Football News, pafootballnews.com. Billy, thanks for joining us.
What's up?
How are you?
Football fans, sports fans, how's it going?
Hey, I guess before we get started, I mean, there's always something going on with PA Football News, and especially we are at, I call it week 1, whether it's week 0 or week 1. It's the kickoff of Pennsylvania football Eve, EVE, and no more exciting times, I would think, except for possibly during the state championship weekend than this, Billy. What's going on with PA Football News?
Well, if you go to pafootballnews.com right now, we are previewing, and we're going to finish that up tomorrow morning, but we have previewed just about every conference in the state of Pennsylvania. You go on our website, you go to conference preview section, and what do you want to know about the state of PA football?
Conference? How many conferences are there?
A lot.
I mean,
I never counted them up. I should sometime. I should count them up. I can count them up while we're online right now. But there's a lot of conferences. Like, the WPIAL has like 13 or 14 conferences alone. So, I mean, there's a ton of conferences around the state of Pennsylvania. For me, we used to do team previews, but there's 567 football teams. Well, 565 right now. We actually lost a couple of schools temporarily, but, we'll see if it's permanent or not. I'm actually waiting on word to hear from another one, but a lot of conferences. That's why we do conference previews, because we just don't, it didn't make sense to do 560 team previews. Nobody would ever read them all.
And you have a really good staff. You have a strong staff. They're not just warm bodies. These guys, they know their high school football, right?
They are very intelligent. There are around the state 3 or 4 people that I can talk statewide football with, and we know maybe 5 people. 3 of them are on my staff. Another is Eric Epler from Penn Live.
Mm-hmm.
We can sit and talk statewide football. Now, Eric, I do have to help. He's very knowledgeable. So we help him out with districts 12 and district 1. He doesn't get down that way too much, but yeah, I have some guys on my staff that know the whole state of Pennsylvania. I have guys who travel about football in this great Commonwealth. We are.
Yes, we are. You have something coming up tomorrow and Saturday, the Rose Bowl. Exactly what is that called? The York Rose Bowl, right?
That's
and
right.
You partner with York Suburban Athletic Director Ron Coursey, who's a great athletic director.
Yes.
He's an exciting guy, man. He really likes to get things rocking and rolling in terms of getting large crowds of people together and showcasing student athletes. What's going on with that?
Yeah, we've been doing this for 6 years now. We started when he was out at Woodland Hills. He reached out to me at Woodland Hills and he said, "Hey, I want to do this thing. I need a PA football news. We're more than PA football. We have connections in Ohio and New York and New Jersey and Delaware and Maryland." So I said, "Yeah, I'll help you out." So we started. But
I'm losing you, Billy. You're breaking up. You're going in and out. I'm not losing you altogether, but
yeah, I'm having the same issue with you. It's the West. It used to be the West versus the rest. So I don't know what's going on with it. I noticed your internet was like you're or what, but and then he went down to York and we just continued on doing it. We have the Rose Bowl Friday night. It's at 5:00. It's Imhotep versus Clarkson North out of Canada. And then Friday at 8:00, it's York Suburban versus Southwestern.
Big rivalry game there.
And that's at York Suburban High School. Morning at 10:30, we move over to Smalls Field, and we have Imani Christian versus West Catholic. Imani loaded. Penn State commits. West Catholic should be a very good football team. Imani was a 1A team last year. They decided to play 3A this year. So they voluntarily moved up to 3A football. Okay. And then we have Penn Hills versus Susquehanna Township, which I think is going to be a really good football game.
I'm so excited for Joe Heaton and his guys at Susquehanna Township.
That's going to be a good football game. Penn Hills is a quality program out of District 7. And then we have Bishop McDevitt, Mount St. Joseph, and then that's at 4:30, and then at 7:30, York High versus CD East.
Wow!
All weekend long. That should be a good football game, York High and CD East.
I think so. Pretty evenly matched.
Very evenly matched. I don't know where York High is this year. They're hard to guess at. Last year they had some talent and it didn't show, and the year before they had some talent and it did show. So we'll see what they have this year. But yeah, that's the York Rose Bowl, 5:00. If you want to get a little early football in, I understand. If you don't, because you're going to see your own football team.
All right. Well, thank you, Billy. I appreciate that. I think we got Billy's stuff out of the way, at least the most pressing, the most important stuff here heading into the season. And before we go kind of around the state, and we're going to try to maybe just touch on all the different districts and then all the different classifications, we're going to capsulize it. I mean, that's a whole lot. But let's talk about this ruling regarding Sean Lee Jr. from Harrisburg High. I don't know how big it is around the state, but that's the biggest thing that's going on right now. As far as kind of off the field stuff in South Central Pennsylvania, Sean Lee Jr. is an all-state. He's a top 25 ranked prospect in the state of Pennsylvania. Okay, so that says a lot. That says it all right there. Coming off a 3,800 yard of offense season, 35 touchdowns, threw for 26, ran for 9, only 5 interceptions. This guy's dynamic. He's also a defensive back. He's a University of Pittsburgh commit. He will be heading off to Pitt. And what happened? The ruling that we got yesterday.
None of what you just read matters anymore.
Okay, well, I have to allow people that don't have a very good grasp of what's going on here.
What I'm trying to say is none of it matters except for the part where he's a pit commit, because
well,
the PIAA ruled him ineligible. So why did the PIAA rule him ineligible? He's a great football player.
Great young man, awesome kid, awesome young man.
There are people out there going crazy. You're going Harrisburg versus the world. I want to get one thing out of the way quickly. The PIAA has one of the worst jobs there is, because you have to have an organization that keeps things organized. Otherwise, you don't have rules. Okay, so what happened? In 2020, he was a homeschooler. His parents had him homeschooled. And his parents registered him to go to school as a sophomore.
As a freshman.
Or as a freshman in 2020. So,
it was a cyber.
Yeah, it does. Semesters of football you play. The PIAA counts years of high school, not football, high school.
This is kind of one of the most important facets to this whole thing right here.
Yeah, there's a big difference. So when you enter ninth grade, which he did in 2020, that was his parent registered him as a ninth grader at Susquehanna Township. It doesn't matter that he did not play football that year.
It was actually not at Susquehanna Township. It was at a cyber charter school.
Yeah, so he registered as a ninth grader.
Correct.
But he didn't play football.
Section 1, Billy. Section 1.
Ninth grade, your clock starts ticking. This is not college football.
Let me explain something. Let me support what you're talking about here. This is from the PIAA rules. I mean, this comes right out of the they call it the handbook. Section 1 of Article 8 provides that the student is ineligible to participate in interscholastic athletics if he or she has reached the end of his or her 4th consecutive year or 8th consecutive semester after the 8th grade year, which means 9th through 12th, without regards to his or her period of attendance.
That's right. So in 2020, he started his 9th grade year. In 2021, he started semesters. In 2022, he started his 11th grade and had 4 semesters left. And in 2023, he started 12th grade. In 2024, he has 0 semesters of high school.
What happened? Where this went off the track, Billy, is that he got.
Here's how it went off the track. I can make it simple, Joe.
Billy.
It went off the track because people count football, and that's not what you're doing.
No, but what I'm saying is he had 2 years of 9th grade. He enrolled in and completed a year of cyber charter school.
Still doesn't matter.
I understand that, but where the confusion lies, I understand that. But where the confusion lies is people don't realize that he had 2 years of 9th grade. When he came in as a freshman at Harrisburg, he had already completed a 9th grade year. Right. So he had 9th grade, then 9th grade again, then 10th grade, and then 11th grade, which brings us to the point where you just left off. It's time for 12th grade, and there's no eligibility left. That's and it has nothing to do with the amount of football he's played already. It has everything to do with the academic semesters that he's already.
Says, well, the COVID year, they should give him an extra year. No, Dad messed up. Period.
Let's make this clear too.
Started him in 9th grade in cyber school, and then they registered him in 9th grade in high school.
This starts these rulings are made on a district level. Okay, District 3 is the first governing body who, by 11-0 vote, 11-0 vote, claimed that he was ineligible, and then it's basically like an appeal. When you say, okay, we're not satisfied with that ruling, then you take it up to the PIAA. And let's talk about this, Billy. It took about almost a month to the day from the District 3 ruling to the PIAA ruling, which was yesterday. Okay. What happened in that month? Why is that? I don't think it was a long time. I mean, it takes a little bit of time. The PIAA has a lot going on. I don't think they can drop everything. But what happened in that 4-week span that it did take 4 weeks to get this to the PIAA hearing level?
Well, it's law. It's common law. I mean, like, but they weren't able to just turn it around and move to the next day. You got to find out who's available, whose lawyers are available. You got to see if they're available. You got to see if the Harrisburg kids' lawyers are available. Harrisburg officials are available. So you can't just say, okay, we'll meet again on Friday.
Right. And the other thing, Billy, is I'm hearing what took so long. My question would be, why wasn't this addressed 3 or 4 years ago when it started?
Because here's how this works. So when football season begins, right? The PIAA has all of your records. Every year, every single team submits their roster to the PIAA. They don't look at the names right away. They look at the years, and they look where you were last year. If you are on Harrisburg roster, if you're on a Harrisburg roster as a sophomore, and then next year you show up on the roster and you're not on the other roster. So Susquehanna Township all of a sudden has a new kid as a junior that wasn't there as a sophomore. Their software picks up Johnny Smith wasn't there last year and he's a junior. Where was he? Oh, he was at Harrisburg. All right, that triggers a hearing. All right. So right away they have to say, okay, well, this kid's going to be ineligible. You need to explain why he's there. Da 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 da. Or if there's the principals, or we could go on forever. If the principals both signed off on it, the PIAA already has the paperwork. They look at the paperwork. They're like, okay, Joe Smith is good. Harrisburg signed off on him, and Susquehanna Township signed, so he's good. He's legal to be there. Whatever. He just can't play in the playoffs. That's the rule. So there's a lot that goes into all this stuff, but that's why it took till summer. So once the registration part of it kicked in for this year, once the PIAA says, okay, computer, show me rosters, and then it kicks that out. But the thing is, they knew about it. So and I like Coach Cal, but they knew about it. So
I want to mention this too, Billy.
Everybody knew what it was going to be. Everybody knew it was going to be ineligible.
They were essentially looking for the equivalent of a medical red shirt. Okay.
Yes.
Yesterday. I think a concession was made that his eligibility academically or in the classroom had been used up. I think everybody knew that. I think the Sean Lee Jr. camp knew that. I think the football program, the school, the Harrisburg school, all knew that his 8 semesters had been used up.
They were trying to Act 66. Nobody has ever passed that. The PIAA has never approved anyone.
Yeah, Act 66 was a law that was enacted in 2020. It does not grant extra eligibility for high school sports, and the PIAA is emphatic that an extra year will not be given to student athletes. So that's a hard no. They were looking for kind of like a medical red shirt or the equivalent, and it just that they were really up against it. I don't think that.
And I'm being honest, I feel bad for the kid. I have nothing against the kid. I have no skin in this whatsoever. I do feel bad for him, but the simple fact is, Dad messed up. Okay,
so let's not. We have a lot more to get to. Even when there was some question or some doubt about whether or not he was going to be eligible, I've been saying the whole time, I still think Harrisburg can get to the state championship.
They're going to be a good football team. But I just want to say the whole subject.
They have more talent than anybody
on
else.
All boards and anything like that. I'm reading all these messages, and it drives me crazy. So let me just say one more thing. Okay, everybody's like, Oh, the PIAA should do the right thing. It was a COVID year. Give them an extra year. Okay, what are we going to do? We're going to give 5,000 in high school?
No, you can't. That
you can't
opens
just
up
pick
such
one
a
kid.
huge
If you
can of
give
worms.
one kid an extra year, you got to give everybody.
There's no doubt
Can't
that
do
would have
that.
been a mess.
It would have been a nightmare. This is college football.
So Harrisburg still has Nehemiah Yule,
I will say
Deontay
this
Sheffy.
too. I've seen people out there saying, "Oh, I know guys that played 5 years." I would love for you to point those out for me. I've been covering football for 25 to 30 years.
That's what I was seeing yesterday, and they won't give you any names. They won't tell you. It's just there's so much rumor out there, and so and so. I know a guy who's.
I'd love to see it. Bring that person to me. I know. Being from Berwick, there was a guy named Gus Felder, and they were trying to say he played 5 years, and he did not, and that got proved eventually. It made a mess for Berwick. Seen anyone who's played 5 years, you would have to start as an 8th grader to play 5 years of high school.
I had a guy tell me yesterday that he knows somebody who who started as an 8th grader and played for 5 years. Mm-hmm. But when it's time to pony up with that person's name and that person's school and all that, they're not willing to do it. So
he dated my aunt, not my aunt. He dated my aunt's. Yeah.
So anyway, let me just end with this because I don't want. I know that the Lee family wants to move on. Okay, this is what I do. This is what you do, and that's why we're talking about it. I cover high school sports. I would have really liked to have watched him play as a senior because I go to as many Harrisburg games as I'm able to. I am an unabashed fan of Harrisburg. I know we're not supposed to be fans, but I really like Cal. I like what he does. But they still have Nehemiah Yule, Deontay Sheffy, Messiah Mickens, Elias Koch, Quincy Brandon, Kymir Williams, offensive line led by Kevin Brown, and a really strong defense. So I don't think it's time to sulk. I don't think it's time to get down too much. Got to move on. And they're playing angry, I guess. I mean, they're entitled. They have the right to be angry, even if they don't have an understanding, like the fan base have a true understanding of the rules and exactly why things played out the way they did. I mean, if they want to be pissed off, that's cool. Let them be pissed and let them have an extra reason to root for their Cougars. Cougar Nation is a strong fan base, and we wish them well. I mean, that's all I'm going to say to finish up there. So anyway, let's move on, Billy. Let's go quickly. Unless you have anything else to add. I didn't want to. We just spent.
I've done an hour ago. It's a simple explanation that people just blow out of the water,
right?
And that's what it is with anything. So, do I get to pick a topic right now, like just a short, quick topic?
Yes. No. Do you get to pick as many topics? You get to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
There's a school district out west who is taking a very hard line on people who are obnoxious and being completely idiotic at football games. If you're harassing the referees or whatever, you get one warning and then you're banned for the year. That's it.
Good. As it should be.
That should be around the state. Every single school district should take that stance. I tweeted it out on @PA Football News on Twitter, or reposted it, or whatever you want to call it. We still call it Twitter. But, for any of you who are listening or watching out there, just go to the game and cheer, okay? Because 99% of you don't know the rules anyway, okay? I hear you. I'm standing outside and I hear you in the background, and you don't know the rules. But the problem is we have people threatening referees, and we have barely enough referees. Now we are doing Thursday night games. I have, I think on my calendar this year, week 2, we have 35 Thursday night games. 35 Thursday night games, Joe.
That's usually good for us, though.
Yeah. But usually that's a couple of games. And that's it, usually in Philadelphia. But we have 35, 30. And I think we have 25 or 30 on Saturday. Why? Because we don't have enough referees. Why? Because people out there can't keep their darn mouths shut. All right? You don't know the rules. Leave the referee alone. Just enjoy your son, grandson, or your alma mater's football game. Cheer it on. It's okay to be angry at a call, but do not go after the referees. Don't go after the fans. Just cheer. And you know, you wouldn't beat up on your grandmother if you were at home watching a Penn State football game, you know, and your grandmother said, go Ohio State. You wouldn't want to beat her up. All right,
No,
just chill.
they're not people like that. They're not in control of any other area of their lives, and that's they have one place that they can be in control, and it's at a high school football game. So I think that's the way that all
control. That's not your control. So anyway, I'm just asking fans, just behave, calm down, relax. Okay, let's not be fighting in the stands.
All right, I agree. So before, if I don't address this now, is the new rule, Billy? Anytime a team or a school has back-to-back state titles, are they automatically going to get moved up in classification?
It is not approved. That has not been approved. It is the same as it always was. They're taking a look at it.
I'm asking that for the people because I know there's a lot of people that think that.
You're right. Yeah, it is the success factor and the transfers are still combined, and that's all there is to it. I mean, if you have transfers. The whole Aliquippa thing was just it was a mess. So I think the PIAA has to look at it. I personally, a lot of people don't know this, but the PIAA or PA Football News actually introduced the success factor rules or setup to the PIAA. We had a guy named Pro Time, Phil Myers, went out to Indiana a couple of times. And he got to talking to people, and he brought the system back, and we put it on paper, and we sent it to PIAA and said, take a look at this. And it just happened to be at a point when recruiting was going wild, and people were like screaming. They were like, we got to do something about the recruiting and the transfers and all this stuff. So when the PIAA went in to talk about adopting the success factor, somehow the rules committee, the steering committee, worked in the transfer rule and came out with that.
Okay.
I'm against that. Just use a success factor. That's it. And then you got to be able to move up and down. You know, so you got that's how it should be. And I don't like the rule attached, but right now it's transfers, 3 transfers in 2 years and 6 months.
Okay.
And you move up.
All right, so let's do it this way. I just changed my mind about how we're going to approach this. Let's call this second segment of 2.
I wrote it all down, Joe. You can't change it. I got it all wrote down.
No. You can use all. You're going to still use all the information you have there, Billy. Okay, but let's do this. Let's talk about 6A. Let's just do it that way because all the teams that we were going to talk about, if we went district by district by district, we're still going to talk about them if we go classification by classification. So 6A. Let me kind of wind you up and get you started. The schools that I think are the elite that have a chance to go, let's just say go to the state championship at least. I think St. Joe's Prep, Imhotep's going to be very good. Harrisburg, Pitt Central Catholic, and North Allegheny. Am I right or wrong? Am I leaving anybody out?
Yeah, Central. Yeah, well.
I have Central Catholic and North Allegheny kind of going at it out west.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Can anybody beat St. Joe's Prep?
Yeah, Imhotep can.
My gosh, were they ever good last year? That was one impressive football team last year.
I don't know why Imhotep is that good. We have them ranked 7th only because they got a new quarterback coming in, a couple new pieces coming in, and they're 6A. So we need to see if they can get through the playoffs in 6A. This is a different challenge for them. York Central Buck South down in District 1 is a very, very solid, good football team. They can do it. Don't forget Springford. They've got a quarterback who's committed to Mizzou, and he's a very. They've got some pieces back from their team that could, give St. Joe's Prep fits. And why am I saying that? Because St. Joe's Prep Prep goes through a kind of a rebuild.
Could I ask you a very good question, Billy? Why does District 1 have to play District 12 every single season in the state semifinals, and then District 3 and District 7 play? Why don't they kind of flip-flop that or move that around a little bit every now and then?
They did that a couple of years ago.
I do remember that, but why did it
people
not
went crazy.
continue? Pardon
Yeah,
me?
people went crazy. As a matter of fact, it was St. Joe's Prep against Pittsburgh Central Catholic, and Marvin Harrison Jr. caught a pass in the end zone, and
Oh my gosh, what a great play that was! That was the year that Harrisburg beat Coatesville in a instant classic down at Hershey Park Stadium too. Okay, so yeah, but
the only one that got a good angle of the catch from Marvin Harrison, and his father, Marvin Harrison Sr., retweeted it, and he said, "I could never make this catch. Thanks for capturing this great video," and it went ballistic and had almost 1 million views.
Yeah, Billy, if you get to the right place, I mean, you're working down there on the sideline, and cool. If you get yourself, if you're fortunate enough to be right at the correct spot, that's what you get when you're on the sideline. So, yeah, that was an all universe catch, not just the physical that he caught the ball, but the timing of it, and boy, Pitt Central Catholic, that was a rough loss for them.
When he came down, his foot just touched in the back of the end zone. Just. It was crazy.
Okay, so any storylines, any subplots in 6A, any news schools or programs that we're
watch out for? I mean, we do have to watch out. There is another team down that we have to watch out for, and that's LaSalle College. They're a prep school down there, and they have Gavin Sidwar, Grayson McGow. Gavin Sidwar, the quarterback. He's got Maryland, Virginia Tech, Duke, Pitt, Rutgers, different offers. They have actually 8 kids that have Division I offers. Joey O'Brien is a great wide receiver. John Patrick Oates is a tight end that can make some plays. So LaSalle's got some guys down there. I mean, we can't let them out. Chris Filippo from LaSalle, he's a linebacker, also plays DB. He's got about 8 or 9 different D1 offers. So LaSalle could make some noise down there too. We can't leave it out.
District 12 is indisputably the strongest 6A district. Strongest district for 6A. If you have
you've got LaSalle.
I wouldn't even say they're top heavy. I would just say they're heavy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's so we threw 5 or 6 teams out there. I think every one that we threw out is worthy of mention. And
Coachville is worthy of mentioning too. Coachville has a great. Most of their offensive line from last year were Division I recruits as well. Their quarterback, he's got a pretty familiar name. It rhymes with the same last name as the head coach, Ortega. So he's been coming up through. He's a junior this year, and he's a pretty good quarterback. So expect Coachville to be very strong too. You can never, ever, ever count out Downingtown West.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Let's move on to 5A. Let's do it that way, Billy. See, we got a lot accomplished there just by kind of throwing out a classification.
All right.
What about 5A? Do we have Peters Township good again? They were 15-1 last year. Lost to a very, very good Imhotep team. Do we expect some things out of them?
Upper St. Clair, Greater Latrobe. Latrobe has Alex Tash, great football player, DB. So Latrobe is going to have a good year. About the East. The East seems to be the strong place to be for 5A. Roman Catholic. I think they have 19 Division I recruits on their football team this year.
My. So they're finally there. They're finally where they want to be, right? This is their team.
Yeah. Coach Preet has to put it all together this year. I mean, this is his year to do it. But he's gonna run into a very, very tough Chester team. Chester has Jalen Harris, a quarterback, and he's been there 3 years now. He's a junior. And almost their entire team returns. And they were a hot team last year. I mean, they were a top 10 team last year. So Chester, they're talking about this is probably the best offensive line they've ever seen at Chester. So look out for them. When you've got a quarterback that can run and get around, look out for them. Westchester Ruston is another team that is going to be very strong down there. But if you look in the middle of our rankings, there's 2 teams that Used to be in 4A, Joe. Mannheim Central seemed to get away from each other.
Yeah, I think Bishop McDevitt. I think once again, in my opinion, don't ask me why, just because they are who they are. It's McDevitt's to lose. I think McDevitt
They're a good football team.
and probably Roman. I think they're the two best statewide. I don't think it hurt McDevitt at all, not an iota, moving up to 5A at least this year, because they're able to get away from.
I think what hurt them more than that was losing guys like Rico Scott and the kids who graduated. I mean, they lost some major talent from that team. I mean,
but let's be clear.
Still playing Division I football, but now then they have kids moving in that can.
They don't have to wait until guys grow up and mature. They can bring guys. They can bring players in.
Yeah, their freshman running back coming in. There's already a lot of talk about him taking over and being a part of it. Dominic Diaz, the wide receiver.
And they're in a new division this year too. Have moved up to the Commonwealth Division. Have finally shed their Keystone Division skin, Billy. Okay, that got really, really old. Okay. Now I say that with respect to Colin Gillen and his Cedar Cliff program, who great coach, great program, but McDevitt was just able to just kind of beat up on their games were over by the middle of the second quarter. Every game, every year, just about. So that's we got any other 5A, any other notable 5A programs or teams this year? Willie McGonigal says that District 1 and 5A is loaded. We talked about Chester.
Yeah, you got to watch out for
Ruston.
Cathedral Prep out in District 10, you always got to watch out for too.
Yeah, they kind of been down a little bit.
Yeah, Springfield Delco is a team that will probably go undefeated until the end of the year. Until the end of the regular season. So, I mean, when you have that advantage, their schedule isn't awesome, but it's good. So, yeah, we have 4 teams in our top 10 from District 1. It's where the stronger 5A teams are, but do not count Peters Township out at all.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, let's move over or down to I hate to say down. I'd rather say move over to 4A because whenever you're talking about Aliquippa, you're never really moving down. Is it Aliquippa and everybody else, Billy?
That's what it is.
Yeah. They were able to win their appeal of being moved up to 5A. That's for another show, okay? But they are 4A again. And boy, if they had been moved up with them, Roman and McDevitt, and let's just throw in Mannheim Central for good measure, and all the other 5A schools was just, boy, that 5A.
So looking forward to that. I wanted to see it. You did.
Well,
I mean, honestly, I love Coach Warfield, and he's gone now.
Let's talk really about what happened there with Coach Warfield.
I don't buy. What did I say?
No, I said let's talk candidly about Coach Warfield, Coach Mike Warfield, and why he's not coaching this year. Is he done?
He's tired. He's had a long, hard career, and he's a humble man. He is a humble man.
Yeah.
Awesome, incredible guy.
It's so easy to be tired.
The day I found out he was leaving, he called me right away. He's the guy. He's the coach. You think, oh, he's the Aliquippa coach. You never hear from him. That guy would pick up the phone the second it rings if you called him.
Oh, wow.
He was incredible. If I called him right now during this show, he would pick up the phone.
Well, Billy, I want to bring him on this show, so you're going to have to help me out with that.
Within one ring, he would come on the show. But anyway, he told me that night he's just tired, and he felt like, he said, Billy, listen, he said, we have guys out there. We've got younger guys out there that are hungry to be head coaches. And he said, if us older coaches, keep holding on to our guard and don't want to give it up, how are they ever going to get a chance to find out what it's like? And then, he said, if they don't like it, then we're always here to pull back in, and we'll never give up on football. But he said, the young guys a chance to be a head coach. He said
that's exceptional. Exceptional.
That's exactly what he told me.
That attitude, that approach, that outlook is exceptional. I mean, yeah. I love that. I love that. And I believe you because I know other people that know him pretty well. And I mean, never a negative word about him. And I mean, the energy that he brings to his program and his school. And so anyway, let's just throw in some other for good measure. And because they deserve it, let's throw in some other 4A teams to look out for.
McKeesport out in District 7, they'll challenge Equipment. They won't have anything for them. They've got running back Cayman Spell. He's one of the top ranked running backs in the country as a junior. You have Pope John Paul down in District 1. PJP. They lost some of their key particles from that team last year, but they have enough guys that are there that we have them ranked. Pennsylvania, Jersey Shore, Tommy Gravish they had such a tough season last year when they lost their football player. We're thinking about you, number 4, all the time. We never stop. That talented, and most of that talent is back, including their quarterback and a couple of good running backs and 3/4 of their offensive line. So Jersey Shore always good. Now Jersey Shore will probably semifinals, which they did last year, and they got beat. Thomas Jefferson's always strong, but like you said though, versus everybody else, you've got Wyomissing, who is now 4A. But it's going to be interesting to see how they do in 4A. You always have to watch out for Allentown Central, absolute toughest conference in the state of Pennsylvania, the EPC. Well, it used to be the EPC South. Now they've divided it into 3 conferences. So they're in the EPC, and those teams out there are Parkland, Emmaus, Bethlehem Liberty, Bethlehem Catholic, Allentown. They just beat the snot out of each other all over the place. And the one who benefits the most is little 4A Allentown Central Catholic, because the other guys are all bigger than they are, so they're battle tested when it comes to play.
Right. So there's no we're not going to see anything like Dallas beating McDevitt last year, right? I mean, I talked to a good friend of mine, a pretty good friend of mine who's a very reliable source. He played Division I college football. He's very close to the McDevitt staff. He said he'd never seen an upset like that in his life. He said that was the biggest upset. And McDevitt had multiple opportunities to close the game out. I mean, you'd have to tell me what other upsets that and an upset is in the eye of the beholder. I mean,
right.
But I mean, that just wasn't supposed to happen in anybody's wildest dreams. So where I'm going with that is that there's almost always a chance that something like that can happen. Okay. Friday but then Aliquippa beat Dallas, I think 60-14 the next week.
Yeah, right. Friday night. That's why they put the pads on, man. That's why they put the pads on.
All right.
So I'm doing my scoreboard. I'm like, whoa, look at that score. There's always that one night where you're like, holy cow, I can't believe they beat them. I will say this about that game. Central gave Dallas the blueprint to beat them.
Yeah.
The week before. They gave them the blueprint. They showed them what to do. And God bless them, the coach from Dallas, and, he looked at that film and he said, "Here, we're just going to put pressure on Stone Saunders all night long." And Jeff Wechter, God bless him, I guess through sometimes a coach's arrogance to see the mistakes that they made the previous week and they don't adjust, and that's what happened in that game.
Right. Okay. So let's move on to 3A, Billy.
I do want to talk about 2 other teams in 2A real quick. Juniata and
4A.
because
right?
they could make some
no,
noise.
we do. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Let's talk about them.
But Juniata has a veteran team coming back, and they can make a lot of noise. Now we're waiting to see how they do, only because of the year they had last year. But they had their deepest run in the playoffs last year, and ever. So they made it to the state quarterfinals, and that was the deepest they've ever gone. So Juniata could make some noise. Selinsgrove has a lot of parts back, but they did lose quite a few guys. So we kind of put them on the outside. Selinsgrove had a great run. Of course, it was Selinsgrove and Jersey Shore that were playing the night the young man was hit and passed away. So I just want to mention those two teams. I can't forget those two teams because Juniata is a strong team.
They have one of the top two-way players in the state, right? Juniata.
Yeah, you have a good team, Juniata Indians. They have a very good team.
Okay, and talk about.
Here's another thing I want to mention, Joe. So, and this has never happened. It's never happened, as far as I know. Because the team's moving around, we're going to have a new state champion in 1A. We're going to have a new state champion in 3A. We're going to have a new state champion in 4A, or in 5A. So we have 1, 3, and 5A will have new state champions.
That's good. I like that.
No doubt about it.
I like that. Okay, so how about 3A, Billy? Let's go to 3A.
It's Central Valley's game to lose. They have owned 3A in the last 7 years. They have owned it. Whitfield. Nobody can beat the Whitfield in 3A.
They have nice uniforms too.
Central Valley.
I like their uniforms. That's shout out Coach Ford Chapman, Harry Cleveland Chapman the fourth. He's a uniform guy, and so I just like their uniforms.
Northwestern Lehigh, of course, they were in the game last year against Bell Vernon. They just ran into a buzzsaw of a Bell Vernon team. They lost their all-everything quarterback, but 99% of that team is back.
Bell Vernon, right?
What's that? No, Northwestern Lehigh.
Oh, okay. Right.
Number 3, you got to look out for Danville. Madden Patrick is one of the most unheard of top quarterbacks in the state of Pennsylvania. He's starting to only because he's at Danville, and that's why. It's a 3A school. We don't want to talk about him, whatever. But Danville is probably Danville's been on a run, and this is probably the strongest team they've ever. Why I'm missing? Well, why I'm missing is now in 4A, so they don't have to worry about that anymore. And of course, you always have to worry about New and Goretti down to District 12.
Yes, you do. Okay, so it's.
Coach Alba's a good coach.
Yeah, we're not going to say it's Central Valley and everybody else, right? We're going to say
No,
that Central Valley is
they're lose, but they can be beat.
Correct. Okay.
Now they lead off with Aliquippa, so we're going to find out right there.
Wow, what a matchup! What a out of the gate matchup that is.
That's always a battle. That's always a great battle.
Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah, that
area looks really good. Remember Wyoming area now? A couple of years ago, if you remember, Wyoming area shocked the world and came through and won a state championship in a few years back, and that was an exciting team. So who knows? Wyoming area has a really good team. Notre Dame Green Pond. One worth mentioning is Mount Carmel is no longer 2A; they're in 3A this year. Big surprise, and I still think, and we have them ranked, so I think they're going to be a very good football team, and look out for them.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to 2A.
Before we mention something, Mount Carmel, I just talked about, they are playing on Friday night for win number 900 in their program history.
And we're winningest ever, right?
Win number 900.
Well, I thought isn't Erie the number one in the state, or is it Mount Carmel?
Mount Carmel by a nose and a tail and a body.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's a lot of winning, buddy. That's a lot of winning. That's 90 years of 10 wins a year. I mean, that's hard to. Okay, so we wish Mount Carmel well Friday night and this season. That's for sure. So let's move on to 2A. Does anybody have anything, especially with Westinghouse moving down to 1A? I mean, Westinghouse was good last year.
This is
Southern Columbia.
This is the year to get them. I'm going to go on record and say I don't know that they're going to get 8 in a row. They're not a strong team, and who is the strongest team right now besides them? The team that beat them in 2018, Steel Valley. That's the last time they lost. 2018.
That was the year that Steel Valley beat Steel High.
No, 2016. 2016 it was. 2016. That's the last time Southern Columbia lost a state championship football game.
And you're saying Steel Valley's good again, huh?
And Steel Valley was the team that beat them, and the Barksdale boys are capable of doing that. We ranked Southern Columbia number 1 because we learned our lesson 2 years ago. Until Jim Roth loses, we don't move them.
I think they should be number 1 every year as long as they're coming off of a state championship.
That's right.
Because if they don't win it all, it's no shame in you having them there. That's for sure.
Bald Eagle area. I mean, Steel Valley is definitely coming out of the West. They're one of the teams that's going to come out of the West. Battle with Farrell. Farrell's always a good football team, veteran football team this year. In between them is Bald Eagle area. Bald Eagle area Bald Eagle area was about 3 plays away from being. It might have been Bald Eagle area playing in the state championship last year.
Is Farrell still in District 10? Didn't Farrell?
They're District 10. They tried to go District 7, and then nobody allowed it.
Right. Yeah, they lost that attempt, I guess.
Yeah. Another strong team in 2A is the Trojans of Troy. I was at a combine this year. Troy had 5 of the top 10 40 times out of 400 guys. That's fast.
Wow.
That's a fast football team.
That really is.
Troy battled Southern Columbia in the mud last year. I don't know if you remember that. There was a big controversy. It was supposed to rain that night, and everybody said, "Oh, you need to move the game to turf field." And Troy said, "No, why would we do that?" And then everybody was trying to say, "Oh, Jim Roth wanted them to move it," and Troy's like, "Why would we move it to dirt?" And when our team speed is what we live off of, so they just played the game. Troy plays at the fairgrounds. They don't have their own stadium. They play at the fairgrounds up there. It's an interesting place that you might not ever want to go to.
Okay. I'll make note of that. Okay. So anybody else in 2A before we move to 1A, Billy? We're doing great on time here. That's why.
Including their quarterback. Bald Eagle's going to be very strong. I think it's going to be between Bald Eagle area and Troy playing against Southern Columbia. I think Steel Valley will. Schuylkill Haven has a really strong football team, and Mike Farrell is a very, very good football coach. So I can't count Schuylkill Haven out. They had a really good football team last year. Their whole team is back this year, so don't count out them. And another team that we can't count out is Camp Hill. They had a great season last year, and they returned a lot of their parts from last year.
Got a really good quarterback.
Yep. Out of either. Very good football team. And then the last one I want to mention in 2A is Riverside out of Scranton. I think they are going to be one of the top Eastern teams as well. To play in 2A. A couple of really good Division I football players there.
All right. Well done, man. You threw a lot of 2As out there for us. Okay, let's move to
2A. I'll be honest, Joe. 2A is our toughest battle. When we have a rankings meeting every Sunday night, and there's about 10 or 12 of us that is our toughest classification year. Hard to make movement in Class 2A until about the third round of the playoffs, because that's where the really good football teams are.
All right. So I don't want to keep using this terminology, but is it Westinghouse and everybody else in 1A? Now,
it was.
What's that?
It was until yesterday.
What happened yesterday? Oh, the injury, right?
Yeah, Keyshawn Robinson announced that he is out for the year.
You're right.
Keyshawn Robinson, I'm so sorry to hear that. And if you're watching Keyshawn, I sent you a text message, and you know how I feel. I hope it sucks.
So for the folks at home,
Hip injury that he needs surgery. Without him, Westinghouse is a different team. He is what Steel High would have been without Alex Irby.
That hurts. Wow, that hurts.
Yeah, that's what he is. I mean, that's the difference he brings to Westinghouse. I mean, he is literally the guy, if you watched the film last year, that had Southern Columbia last year. That was him. So without him, I don't know that we would have ranked him number one. I really don't.
Any chance for, like, let's just say Bishop Guilfoyle, Fort Cherry? I heard Fort Cherry has a lot back.
Including the Penn State commit quarterback Matt Sig.
Quarterback D-back.
They were 2A for 2 years. They're down in 1A where they belong. Guilfoyle has a very small school, very small class. They don't recruit like people just, I don't like the word recruiting because, like, I know Guilfoyle, it's a crawl on some people's side, but what are you going to do if a parent wants to send their what can you do? They didn't send them there for football. They sent them there because they don't want their kid in Altoona school district. So what do you do?
Well, I mean, if that's the only way that they're getting kids, then that's okay. But I mean, it kind of seems like there's conversations had sometimes too, like, hey, why don't you come over and play with us? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think like
in the history of Bishop Guilfoyle, since I've been covering football and knowing Guilfoyle, I don't know. I only ever can remember one player that transferred to Bishop Guilfoyle, and that's because his dad moved. He got a job.
Well, the odd thing is they don't end up with.
That's another show.
Yeah, they end up with the good Altoona players, not the bad ones. So,
yeah.
Anyway, okay. So
we have them ranked number 2. I think they're going to be very strong this year. They were very good last year. Now Guilfoyle plays Bald Eagle Erie on tomorrow night, so that's going to be an interesting game there too.
There's a lot of good matchups right out of the gate. That's for sure.
I love week 0. We get so many awesome matchups. It's incredible. I love it.
Okay, I think we're done, man.
You on the sidelines at Harrisburg while my showcase is going on in York.
Yeah, that's
because Harrisburg is playing LaSalle.
What a game!
Friday night, we can find out a lot about a lot of these teams.
Yeah.
Another name I want to bring up in 1A, they're back.
Oh.
So now we have to talk about the other team. They don't have Lamont Wade anymore, but Clairton is loaded for Bears.
Oh, yeah.
Bears could come out of nowhere and take it all. A very good football team, capable of beating Fort Cherry. A lot of big guys on the line. This looks like a Clairton football team of old. Coach Wade doing a great job. I love Coach Wade. He's a great guy. I love talking to him, and he's just an awesome person. So Clairton looks good.
There are significantly more question marks this year than there have been in recent years. I mean, last year, I said 5 of 6 would repeat, and the only one that didn't that I thought would was McDevitt. But things kind of held up. Things were kind of status quo last year, and we could have a real mix-up. Well, like you said, half of the classifications have to have a new champion because of the.
I think we're going to see 4, maybe. Well,
everybody but Aliquippa and St. Joe's Prep, correct?
Right, because like I said, this is the year. If you're going to get St. Joe's Prep, this is your year. Get them, because you're not getting them next year.
I heard their defense is really good. St. Joe's Prep.
Blackwater Trail, good football team. Winburn, one of their better football teams this year. Blackwater Trail. Always tough out of District 9. can they get past a Fort Cherry or a Clairton? Well, they did it a couple of years ago, and then they ended up playing Bishop Guilfoyle in the state championship game.
Right.
If you remember?
Yeah.
That was with the field goal that went straight up. Remember that game?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Line Mountain is a good football team this year. They got a lot. Wilmington is back. Remember Wilmington? They went down and got beat by Southern a couple of years in a row.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun, Joe. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting
Very
year.
interesting. Very intriguing. A lot more intrigue than normal. All right, well, Billy from PAFootballNews.com, thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to task you with getting a hold of Coach Mike Warfield and seeing if he'll join us on this podcast. All right? I'd love to talk to him.
I'll tell him you're going to give him a call.
Okay. All right.
I want to say one thing to everybody out there. Anybody that's right now. To do something special every week. Rather than sitting on your butts or in your cars watching a game being streamed right now or tomorrow night, go to the game. Don't be lazy. Don't be a lazy fan. The kids work very hard all year for your support. They can't hear you yelling from the bar or from their kitchen or from the backseat of your car, from the mall, or wherever you're at watching the football game. Spend $6, take 3 hours, and go and support your local football team, gang.
It's a lot more fun than you may think it is. If you haven't been to a high school football game, there's not much that's more pure, more innocent, more just kind of there's really nothing attached to it. It's just a lot of fun watching kids play a sport, and the competition is incredible. Yep. Billy, thank you very much. Good luck to you and your guys. I know that you'll be all over the state. You guys are the best in the business at what you do. And we're going to thank our sponsors one more time before we –
I'll see you Saturday, Joe.
Yes, you will. So let's thank Rickabaz Electric, Payer Apparel, Ted's Bar and Grill, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, Tonino's Pizza, Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate, Team PA AAU Basketball, Sam Hartley Decking, American Legion Post 272, Hoffman Ford, The Tire Mart, Modern Imprint, Capital Region Insurance Agency, and Underdog. Thanks again to these great local businesses for their continued support. So for Billy Splain of PA Football News, I'm Joe Gilloway. Thank you, and good luck, and best fortune and safe play to all the student athletes that are starting tomorrow. Take care.